for the frightened princess. I'm not a little bird who needs your help to fly. Nope. I'm the bad guy.
I found a bowl that I thought was the right size, and I fit it on my head to make sure it fit on my head. And this bowl happens to have an outer diameter, but you don't want the circle you cut out to be any larger than a 1/2 inch larger than the inside of the bowl. Warm tools. And then I just traced it onto my foam, leaving as little excess as I possibly can. And now I'm going to cut it out. I take my heat gun, I'm going to put it on, I heat up my foam, and then I'm going to put it inside my bowl, and it's going to create a lovely rounded bowl shape out of this circle. You can also see that my edges are pretty decent, and that is because I had a very sharp knife and I applied some decent even pressure while I was doing my cut. Heated it up briefly on either side, not taking too long to heat it up because otherwise I will ruin my cutting mat. And then I just pushed it inside this bowl. I put my good sides out because that is the side that I want facing out. It'll make it a lot easier when you put this helmet together. And then I've just pushed this in. I'm not forcing it too much. I don't really want to leave an indent on the top side. But I do want to get that curve, and I want that curve to be staying there. So it should be ready, and should be ready now actually. You want to make sure that when you push it in evenly, and that you don't just have it like half up here and half up here. You want to make sure that it's like flat in, because it's hard to control, and that's something that you want to keep in mind of. With the size and the length that I made, so I just added these pieces to give some more space. I'm not sure how I'm going to get this to physically come together a little bit more, but I'll figure that out as I go. A piece like this, just a triangle, because this is a bevel, I'm going to glue it on the underside and then I'll curve it, and that's how that piece will go. I just cut out 2 pieces of foam. I made some indents on the inside to make room for this. I cut a hole in the top of the helmet to help secure it, and I glued it on either side. Made sure to keep it mostly lined up to make sure it looked right. And there it is. The design, I just freehanded it by the drawing, and I will just flip this over. Where we are now, I decided to cover both sides with fabric. I glued on the back piece. The back piece I thought was going to look a little bit rough because I was just gluing it on straight, but even the back piece looks pretty good. So once again, technique I did, pull the front taut, and then just glue on a panel on the back. It worked pretty well. Anything, I'm just going to put some primer over it so the foam will not absorb the paint as much. Smudge all over the piece, got in all of the little cracks and crannies, and I will paint as soon as it's dry. You want to do while your paint and glue is drying. You could make the rest of your costume, or you could just take a nap. Really. Done for hair. To cut down on costs, I just bought a 10-inch track of white hair, and I cut it in half. Not actually half. One side's larger, but in her costume, 1/2 of her hair is longer and more, and so to give that effect, I'm going to put the smaller half on this, and I'm just gluing it up inside the helmet so that way I can just take the helmet off. I don't touch it. After some adjusting and figuring out what I want it to look like, I made a rough sketch, and then I sort of built it around there. I had this all the way down, but then I realized it wouldn't sit on my shoulder right, so then I cut some out, and it's sort of, this is what I want it to look like. I'm going to have some spikes, and I'm going to build the other one, and then I will cover this with fabric before I attach the spikes. For my spikes, I just sort of decided what I wanted, and I tested it out. I made a larger one, and then I didn't like it, so I made a narrow one. The width is 1 inch and 1/8, and the height is just varied. So you can see that these are going to be the smaller ones, and obviously this is larger than that. Oh. So I'm just sewing together the pieces of the shirt. I'm using a zigzag stitch because this is a knit. I have not done any of the seams. I might leave them raw. I don't have any black thread at the moment. What I'm making the skirt out of. What I did was that I took the top of the material and I fit it around my waist, stretching it to the amount that I felt comfortable having it stretched, and I measured it to the space around my hips, because that's going to be the largest space, and then made sure that it was at a reasonable size around to my smallest section when it's not fully stretched, and I was happy with that. If I wasn't happy with that, I wouldn't cut out a square. I would cut out something more tapered, but because this is going to be a very rough skirt, I didn't mind too much. I sewed it together and I was happy with the fit. Looks a little bit smaller. It is a little bit smaller, but that's because it's body forming. Because I am not top stitching, because I don't have any black thread, I do need to clean up these edges, because I'm going to use raw edges, and I also need to cut off some of the length because I got short little legs. It's out of felt, and I just sort of freehanded it. I cut out these smaller pieces. They're supposed to look a little jagged, and I lost my X-Acto knife somehow, so these little pieces are cut out using my steam ripper. That worked really well with the felt, and I'll just glue this on with hot glue to where I want it to be. These gloves are awful, and they look awful. Rubber gloves. Do I care that they don't have the fans inside? Not really. Do I care that they fit me? Pretty much not really. Do they look better than the ones I made? Yes. Okay. These are the socks I'm going to be using for the costume. I added this material. I glued it before I put it on. I measured it as it was when it was not stretched out. This is a stretching material, this is not. So what I did after I applied this material, I put on the sock and then very carefully glued a strip of yellow fabric to this. It looks like when it's not attached to your body, so you can clearly see that there would be no way that I would have been able to figure that out, and because I already had them, I washed them. I don't know if that's going to be imperative for the paint stick, but I did that just because they were pretty dirty, and you could buy something that was closer, but like I said, I already had them, so I'm just going to paint them with the white and the black and make them look like what I want them to look like.
Damsel in distress. I'm not your girlfriend or the frightened princess. I'm not a little bird who needs your help to fly.